Welcome. Really warm welcome to you all. Welcome as well if you're joining us watching the recording. Just want to show my Christmas jumper. I hope you're being in a festive, starting to feel festive and starting to feel Christmassy. I just want to bring that because that really brings me joy, and also it can brings a lot of overwhelm, can it? I mean, that's why we want to talk today about prioritizing, being efficient, productivity, because we can feel like there's so much to do, particularly around busy time of year, Christmas and the running to Christmas. I think is one of the most stressful time of year. And feeling that you're not organized, that you're not on top of things can really have a strong effect on you, and particularly on your business, particularly if you're a freelancer and you have your own business, you're self-employed. So when you have ways to improve that, and I will cover as much as possible of possibilities, of examples, of suggestions, because I always think that it's very important to see what works for you. And I hope that you'll get some value and you'll get some useful tips that you can implement in your day-to-day. And the reason why I'm saying it's important that it works for you, because we are all different. Some people are going to be very, only digital. Some people are going to be a mix of paper and digital, for example. And so that's important to adapt, but there is always a possibility to adapt. And for me, every system and every ways of organizing that I've looked at has always been, when we then work with the client, has always been a little bit tweaked, a little bit adapted, a little bit made yours, right? So this is really, really important. I always believe that we're all unique, and the ways that are going to work for us are going to also be unique. So how to implement that system, that structure that's going to serve you, avoiding the burnout, because when we are, of course, self-employed or freelancers, we wear so many hats, right? We have to do all of it. We have to deliver the work, we have to communicate with the clients, we have to do the paperwork, the admin, etc. Plus having a normal life on the side of that. So we're going to get better at that, and prioritizing is really, really, for me, a key in that journey on becoming more efficient. So we'll start by talking about like sort of a basic way of organization. Before, just after my short presentation, you might be wondering, who is this person talking to me, and what is this accent that I can hear? Any guesses? French accent. So I'm from France, live currently in the UK, and I'm a certified coach. My specialty is on mindset and entrepreneur coaching. And I really love that. I'm passionate about helping people creating their own business, having this freedom that they've always looked for. But I also believe that this freedom comes with a big learning, right? Shifting from this employment mindset to your own business mindset, which is a lot around leadership, but also around organizing and organization skills. So we'll start with the basic organization. So I wanted to talk about this matrix because for me, initially, when I looked at it and when I was introduced to it, I was like, this is all very fine, but what does it change? What do I do with that? How does that really has an impact? And we probably all have seen that: urgent, not urgent, important, not important. But I want to have a closer look with you today, so that we can really actually understand how that can benefit us, and how can that make us reflect as well on our practices, on what we do and how we can do things different. First, we're going to look at what is urgent and not important. And as you've probably guessed, I've got here a little bit of a symbol here, a little bit of visual. This is typically all these notifications, all these, like, you can see those little red round notification aspects that are telling us they are grabbing our attention, right? And sometimes they can go with also with sound if we've got the notifications on with sound on our phone. This is really, really disturbing your concentration and your focus. If you have that ongoing all the time, you really have this impression, this experience of urgency, while in reality, there isn't really an urgency. And typically for that, I think, is looking at your LinkedIn notifications. When you look and when you actually click, most of the time in this list, there isn't anything that actually is so much important that is needing your attention every so often, every half an hour. So really play and really work on what you need to do to work for you. So I would suggest looking at turning off some of these notifications. I found that really, really useful. And having a planned moment in the day when you look at, for example, LinkedIn or other maybe platforms that you need to use. It could be different with your email, it could be different with your phone calls, depending on how your business works. But please do not have too many pops up, particularly on your screen as well. When you have that pop-up notification of an email with the beginning of the email, this is going to drag your attention, and your attention is going to move away from what you're doing to starting reading that email. While if you regularly check, and don't worry, you're not going to forget, you won't forget because it's important. You have actually this mental capacity the moment that you check. You're opening the app, you're opening your emails. So this is the right time for you to look at. Set a time limit on your phone. All the new smartphones have that. They can look at how much time you spend on social media. And for some of us, it's a business tool. It's something that we use for work. So it's important. I'm not suggesting to go completely away from it, whether it's for your business use or your social use. But setting time limits can help you to see how much time you've been spending then, and give you also a little bit of an idea of it's been 2 hours today. You might want to actually stop. Having some technology detox time could be great. And I wanted to show you this, which has been from a study by a very big university, showing that social media really, really impacts our health. We are more likely to have worse mental health if we are a Facebook user. Social media have negative interactions, higher level of connection with higher level of depression. People who use 7 or more social media sites are 3 times more likely to suffer from anxiety compared to those who use 2 or fewer. So again, I'm not saying that to say you should completely stop it, or if you want to, of course, you know that can be your choice. But what I'm saying is we have to be careful with that usage and what it does to us, particularly with our attention. And our attention and our focus is so important with our organization and our efficiency. So what we want to consider as well is having technology detox. And I can tell you that everyone in the Silicon Valley, the top-notch technology developers and everyone working in the Silicon Valley have moments of technology detox, right? So they are aware, although they are probably creating the new version of the lovely things that we use, they're also aware of the effect that it can have and the importance of having moments of actually no screen, okay, or airplane mode. That could be another way to just have that focus time. So play with that, because that's really costing a lot of your energy, and particularly if there are people suffering with ADHD and things like that. This is something you've got to really trade super carefully with. Second quadrant is what's urgent and important. For a lot of people, this is the main focus. This is where we get lost, right? Because we end up firefighting. And we end up having to, moving from one thing to another. That's actually urgent, and that's actually important. So we need to actually reduce as much as possible to give more space for things that are important but not necessarily urgent. Really, really important. So you might be looking at that and going like, oh, great idea, Clem, but how do we do that? It's I'd love to do that, but things are here, they're urgent and they're important. So we need to be more proactive and have a good system in place. And I will give you some more tips in detail afterwards, later on in the presentation, to avoid that stress, but also to avoid the procrastination. Sometimes there could be associated with a sense of procrastination. So I know some of the things are important, but I'm not going to do them until they are urgent. And for a lot of people, they struggle with that, and it becomes impossible to act until it's urgent. If it can wait, I'm not going to do it. Yeah. So I'll give you some tips and questions, but what I want you to do right now at this stage of the presentation is to start looking and assessing for yourself if it's the case and what sort of tasks would typically be urgent and important. And that can be too much, and they can take over the day, basically, which means that then you will have to work up to the very late hours of the night to finish onto a project, because you've actually been caught into the firefighting. Typically emails, for example, we can spend a lot of time. So reducing, the first step is to become aware, and then having a good system so that you can reduce, delegate, plan, and also schedule. Okay, but we'll go into detail with that, with the system. What's not urgent and not important. Again, this is important to have a good analysis over that, discerning what we're doing, what is not urgent and not important, looking at quality rather than quantity, working smarter, not harder. So for example, typically this would be spending hours searching the web because we are insecure, for example, and we need reassurance, and we feel like we need to do more research. More research is never enough. There's nothing wrong with doing research, of course. I'm not suggesting not to do that, but there are sometimes comes a certain point that we get a little bit lost, and we follow one thread and we follow another, and we spend a lot of times. Some meetings can also be too long, not efficient, and I'm actually spending time that is not needed, that's not productive. So having agendas and having shorter meetings more regularly rather than an hour-long meeting, for example, that's not meant to be, it's not set to be the most efficient way to do meetings. Some processes and steps need to be optimizing. That can also be something to look at, potentially in my client's journey, potentially in the way that I'm producing certain pieces of work, in the way I'm delivering, etc. It can also be that I'm a little bit too dispersed, looking at my market, for example, my new routes to market is a little bit too much of a diversity, and I'm trying a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of that, and not making enough time to go deep into a fewer options, for example. So this is also something that's really important to look at and to assess for yourself. That can be also the dimension of being a little bit too ambitious and not realistic. I might not have the time for all of that, and that can also sort of disperse your productivity and your focus. So when it's not urgent, not important, what we need to do is to declutter, stop doing it, and go for quality again rather than quantity. Important but not urgent. So this is really what will get you there in everything that you want to do in every project. This is what gets you to that finish line and going, yes, we did it. And this is what we struggle, as you know, generally as a majority, we struggle to find the time, to find the space for what's important and not urgent. So super important, having time every day for these long-term goals. Usually they are longer term goals, or mid or long-term goals that I need to work towards. And it's by doing things every day that I am actually going to make progress. It can be also on delivering certain pieces of work that take a longer time. So again, we are very, very caught into what we call the 2 minutes sort of actions. When we look at our to-do lists, usually there are things that can be done really quickly, or 5 minutes, 10 minutes, etc. The brain has a tendency to go for these tasks and avoid the bigger tasks that may be going to take longer. Maybe it's a process of several hours, and there are going to be baby steps within that major task. So when we see something in our to-do list that feels too big, that feels potentially a little bit scary, that feels that it's not going to be achieved straight away, and we're not going to get that dip of dopamine and going, yeah, done. You know, like we feel successful, we feel that we've achieved, but also we feel that that to-do list is a little bit lighter. that in a way keeps us away from this section, from what's important and not urgent. That takes more time to work on, because it's also due to the fact that we are in a society of zapping, of things going fast, and we want results and we want things to move quickly. So we have to be aware of that and make sure that we dedicate enough time, because for certain projects as well, we know that if we only have 10 minutes, we're not going to have enough capacity to dive into the topic. We need more time, right? So this is super important. Scheduling is important. Using your calendar as a powerful tool is important, but also connecting to your why. Why is that actually important and urgent? What does that mean for me in the long term if I reach that milestone, if I achieve this? What does that change in my vision? What can really help too, particularly for these, is to have an accountability buddy or an accountability system. A buddy works well. So a buddy is basically someone that you would meet up with regularly. I would recommend every week. It doesn't have to be long, again, with no point into spending too much time on the meeting, but someone that helps you to review. Okay, last week we talked about this, and that. Where are you at? How did that go? What other solutions could you put in place if it didn't go so well? What about next week? Haven't had enough time for this, for that, etc. So all of this is, of course, valid for business, but also for personal life and for everything, basically, that we've got to do, from our Christmas shopping to food shopping or to paperwork, etc. It makes such a difference when we have a system in place that really helps to support us. It's just giving sort of that peace of mind that although I'm busy, although there's loads on, I know I have a system. I know I can rely on that, and I know what's coming next. I know what I'm doing next. Okay, a little bit of an advanced approach that I want to touch on. We won't spend too much time on it, because I think it's a good approach as well if you have other people that you work with. So if there's an ability to delegate, or if you're in a small team, or maybe if you have a VA on board that works with you. So this is a matrix developed by Positive Intelligence, and it's looking at what is low impact for you and what's high impact for you, what is battery charging and what's battery draining. So again, having this assessment, understanding what drains me, what charges me. And if you're not in a team, that can still have benefits to understand maybe in what time of the day. For me, this is the case, for example, I'm looking at what's draining and what's energizing. So I know what sort of task I'm going to try to get done in the morning versus what I can leave for the end of the day. And typically we were talking about these 2 minutes actions and tasks versus the longer tasks and the longer projects. It's always good to look at having those longer blocks in the morning rather than leaving those 2 minutes little things that you can do for later on in the day, because it's a lot easier to find energy for that. And it can apply for personal and professional life. And basically the assessment can look a little bit like that. I've identified A, B, C, D, F, all different tasks and different activities that I've got to do in my business. And I want to make sure I do as much as possible high impact battery charging things and tasks. And that can really also help us to assess what is actually not so important and not so urgent in our work. So it's another model, which I think again you'll see how you feel with that, and you see what inspires you, what resonates with you. So that's very important. Okay, business strategy, of course, really helps us as well to understand what works for us, what works for our business, and what we need to spend time on, because it's really easy to dedicate a lot of time and too much time at things that we don't need. Or hasn't got that high impact that we're looking for. So for that, I would recommend as well, I don't know if some of you have already done that, but it's to do a little bit of a time audit. So taking a typical week, so maybe close to Christmas, when will not be your typical week, and looking at how did I spend my time today and this week, and observing a week or two. and really looking at that. And then look at the different categories in your business, even if you're self-employed or freelance. And this is called the wheel of business here, a little tool that I've designed, and all of the different categories are the different things that are important for a business. So of course they can be tailored, they can be changed. I need to be clear on my ideal client. I need to make sure I do some money generation. I need to make sure I engage with my community. I put in place a referral system. My offers and services are clear, etc., etc. And then you can use that little wheel to give it a grade. So to assess where am I on a scale from 0 to 10. And that gives us a very visual aspect. So you can see if I'm closer to the circle or if I'm closer to the outer edge of the circle, the center or the outer edge. Sorry, that's a little bit hard to pronounce for me. And that gives me a visual idea of where I'm at and what I need to change, and potentially where I need to spend more time, what I need to change in my system. Another way, I'm quite a visual person, so that really works for me. Another way is to look at the different, the big categories of things that you need to do in your business. So that's an example, and the importance that it has. So the bigger the circle, the more important. And what does that include? And I need to make sure that that reflects as well on my schedule. Deliver the best service, enable clients to find me. I do like that as a little, it's subtle difference, but it's not about me finding clients. It's about me being visible so that clients can find me, which I think is a very, it's a just subtle shift, but for me, it makes a big difference. Training and networking, so making sure I'm collaborating, I'm learning, I've got that long-term vision, as well as admin work. So I don't want that to be too big. I want that maybe to be streamlined and efficient, etc. So of course we look at our powerful tool with that. Our emails, our filing system is my computer, and the organization in my computer is that is that consistent? Is it working? Is it clean? Can I find a file really quickly, etc., etc. Or on my Google, or whatever you use. What about my calendar? What about other organization tools that I'm going to talk about a little bit more? Do I use Trello or Notion or things like that? That can help me. But that needs to be, you need to assess the things first and understand first sort of the bigger picture, so that you can go, okay, this is what's missing for me, or this is what's going to work for me. Because I need this and this and that. I need to focus on that. I'm spending too much time there. I'm losing my efficiency here, my productivity, etc. Or I could really benefit to having less there, so that I can finally go to working only 4 days a week instead of 5. Do you know what I mean? So this is really how to adapt to your particular situation. Okay, so a more like sort of coaching perspective, coaching approach that I want to share with you is the GTD method. So GTD stands for getting things done, and it's been a system that's been put in place by David Allen. So there's all sorts of books and resources online. You can find videos on YouTube that can help you go through this model. So this is really something that I recommend. I've personally been trained in, and that I help others as well to implement. So the process are identified by these 5 steps. The first step is to capture, then it's to clarify, then organize, reflect, and engage. And we have a focus, like you can see here in bold, on organizing and reflecting. And the structure is really enabling, and all these different steps are important. So the idea that I really like, and one of the sort of catchphrase of David Allen, is to say that your mind and your brain is wonderful at creating ideas, is made for making ideas, not to hold them. So what we want to do is to make sure we have a system that can process all these different ideas and help you to get them done without having sort of this charge. We talk a lot about the mental charge, don't we, nowadays? But also constantly knowing that there is so much more that I haven't done, and there is this, and there is that, and then home, and then family, etc., etc. So this is also costing you a lot of your brain power. So we want to clear that brain by capturing. So this is the first. This is the first step. You can see here on the screen. It's to capture an idea, which means that every time something comes to you, whether it's, oh, I need to reply to this client, an email has come in, I need to reply, but I can't do that right now. So I need to take note, and that needs to come to my to-do list to reply to this client, as well as, wow, we've run out of bread. Okay, so that's another thought. Any sort of thought like that that includes, involve you doing something needs to be captured. It's the first phase. In terms of tools, there's plenty of different tools out there that are amazing. What I use is Microsoft To Do, which is completely free, even if I'm an Apple user. That really works. You've got it on your phone, on your laptop, on your tablet, and so that's really versatile. And you have different categories, so you like create different files. Some are for home, some are for business, but there's only everything in one place. And there is a file that it's there to capture. Your capture file is whenever something comes into your mind, but you don't have time to deal with it because you're doing something else, you're creating some work for a client, but you have that thought of, oh gosh, I need to remember to make an appointment for da-da-da. Straight away, I've got my phone, I capture it. Everything. So initially, the first time you do that, you end up with, wow, loads and loads of things. And this is why a bit later, when you have some time, you take some time with the second step, which is clarifying. Where did that go? So in which file does that go? Do I need to create a new file because it's a new project? So that enables to, like, first of all, like, sort of not create that huge list that seems overwhelming, but start to organize them with different categories. Does it need an action? So is it picking a document at the bank or making a phone call? Is that the action? Or is the action, and a lot of the time the action is actually making a decision, which is, it's really interesting that, because some things stay on our to-do list for forever because there's a decision to be made, and I haven't had enough time to do the little bit of research, to look at the different options potentially before I make that decision. So we stay stuck with certain things, or they stay in the back of our mind, and we don't have the space, the mental space that we could benefit to being more productive. So clarifying sometimes mean, okay, I identified that I need to make a decision about this, that we need to decide where we go for our next holiday, or I need to decide how I'm going to work on this new project with this new client, or I need to think about the proposal that I'm sending to them, how much I'm going to charge them, things like that, right? So really clarify, identify what is the next step that you need to do. And then the following step is organizing. It's usually done similarly with the clarifying, if you can. And that would mean that potentially I could put a date, I can schedule that particular task. Okay, so sometimes there's a timeline. So sometimes I know that I'm delivering something on a certain date, so I can put that date in. And I can also anticipate, and I have a little bit of a system, for example. So I would say, like, if I'm delivering a presentation, I want everything to be ready a week before. So in my scheduling, it's going to come up to a week before, and I'm going to pick a day in the week that I know that I can finish or prepare a presentation. Yes. So that's your system, and so and you can schedule it. Okay. You can use your calendar, or you can use a tool such as Microsoft To Do to be actually pretty much your calendar. So you can schedule, and then when you go back there, you will have, for my day, you can see here on the right of the screen, everything that's come up for that day. Yeah, and things can be added, and it's work send report to Frank, as well as pick up milk, as well as reply to a message and renew subscription. So it's really all that I possibly will need to do is there. And there's the possibility as well to put like a little star, so to flag what's important. And we'll talk about that as well for our ability to prioritize. I've got some tips as well that I want to share. Assigning to a date is really, really key. Even if sometimes some things don't exactly go to plan and it needs to be moved a little bit, but that is going to really, really help to avoid you from sometimes doing something that's urgent, feels urgent, that feels I should be doing straight away, I should reply to that email straight away. That helps to go, no, actually, I can do it tomorrow, and I'm going to schedule it. I won't forget it. It will be done tomorrow. But now I'm doing this because I know that if I do this other thing, there's going to be another thing tomorrow, and I'll never get to do what I need to do that's important but not urgent. Yeah. So that's really helping you to reassure that part of your brain that can get triggered and a bit lost in the urgency and go, no, I've got a plan, I've got a system. There is space, there is time, because it's important, because I really want to achieve that long-term vision. Yeah. So the organizing is the when, is the where, etc. What I really, really recommend as well, what's really amazing, is to organize regularly your files, have a system for that, organize your emails, having a clear, clean email box. I love a zero email strategy. So when you open your emails and you deal with things and you've organized them and you've logged on the different tasks, you've captured the tasks that you need to do, then you have a zero email. They filed in where they need to file, and until there's more coming, it's zero. And that space, it's almost like, well, it's not almost like, it's completely like when you've decluttered your house. You know, you've given things to charity, sold things, etc., etc. You suddenly have like more space. You suddenly feel better. It's calming. It's reassuring. It's more peaceful. Similar. So the following step is to reflect, review, and engage. So of course you're going to be doing things, but regularly you need to check, you need to review, you need to look into these different files, these different categories that you have. So it could be work, or it could be, so for example, I'll give you some of the lists of my files, my different categories in my Microsoft To Do. So I've got admin, I've got baby, I've got networking, I've got calls, I've got events, I've got errands, home, I've got emails and messages, I've got family and friends, I've got different projects, so specific projects that I'm working on, I've got mindset program, I've got social media, I've got website maintenance, etc. So, and all of that needs to be reviewed regularly. So regularly, every week, I'll look at all these different categories, looks what's in the files, just make sure my timelines are all right. That's, you know, that on that particular day, I'm going to be okay. If I've planned to prepare a presentation, nothing else has come up. Oh, actually, I've got a session, so I need to do it the day before. All right, okay, cool. We'll do that. What about this workshop? Where am I at? Have I sent the invoice, etc., etc. So I can review things regularly and make sure my plan is good and is in place. And again, for me, it's a lot also about flagging when it's more decision. Okay, this has not been decided. This is why it's here. Okay, what's the next step then? Okay, first is deciding on this, and then it's deciding on that, and really be as specific as you can, so that when you pick it up next, you know where you're at. There's nothing better in the world that when you open your laptop and you just have to go to that tool and just go, right, okay, this is what comes next. Yeah. I hope that sounds good to you. But again, every person I've known that has implemented a system like that, something similar or exactly that, has had to have tweaks to make it work for them. Something I want to touch on as well is being realistic about what you can achieve. We overload our to-do list. So you've seen here. So what I have on my list for my day if it's 1,000 items or 100 items, it's not realistic. I'm not going to be able to do all of that. Yeah. So we have to be careful, and we need to make room for things that are unplanned. Yeah. So for a phone call coming in, for a client that wants to, or someone who wants to talk to us and things like that. You know. So these things that are unplanned need also to have some space for. So my recommendation is always to actually make sure you schedule a little bit less than what you would have. And even that probably has been a little bit over ambitious, which is normal. It's a normal tendency. And just reassure yourself and just go, right, if I have finished everything, I can always look at tomorrow and be a little bit like, proactive and get a little bit more things done, so that tomorrow I can carry on, etc., etc. But it means that if something else comes in, then you don't feel stressed, then you don't feel like you're failing, and you don't feel like you're not achieving. That's really important. Careful as well with like fear of missing out and spreading yourself too thin. And going, oh yeah, this is interesting, I'm going to look at this and I'm going to do that as well, etc., etc. Be mindful of your time. Be mindful of your attention. It's really important. Another little tool. So yes, a little concept still in the GTD method. It's called, it's looking at a problem differently and going, rather than calling it a problem, I'm actually going to call it a project. Something has happened, something has come up, car has broken down. It's not a problem anymore, it's a project. What's the next step? Calling the garage, checking with the insurance. Not the insurance, not in the case of a breakdown. Calling a taxi for for a lift home, etc., etc. What are the different steps? And that helps you to deal with things as they come along with a plan, rather than focusing on, oh, this is wrong, and looking at all the things that could potentially affect you. So it really helps as well with managing the emotional side of things. And our powerful weapons, so that's more like of a little bit of a recap, of course, our calendar, our emails, our filing system, and the overall organization. Yes, my next concept is eat the frog. I don't know if you've heard of that, but I found that really, really, really helpful. And that really is going to help while you have your system in place and you still want this little bit of prioritizing, making sure that you get these important, not urgent things done in your day, is to look at the eat the frog. So I like this concept. So the frog is basically something like in the fairy tales, right? The frog is the prince disguised in a frog. So you don't want to kiss the frog, and this concept is eating the frog, but it's a similar idea. Yet that's what gives you the reward, right? So your important, not urgent thing that you want to be doing is your frog. So is your hardest, your most important task for the day. Pick one per day. Don't try to eat too many frogs a day, because you'll be, you have a stomach ache. You won't be well. But we want to look at that list, and we look at what we've assigned for a particular day, and we want to eat it. No trying to bargain, to negotiate with ourselves that we're going to do it later today, later tomorrow. We don't feel like doing it today. Blah, 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 blah. Don't give yourself the chance to put it off for later. Yeah. And repeat every day. So identifying and eating your frog is amazing. The results of that are amazing. So using that while using the GTD method and Microsoft To Do is great, because you can really identify and not having too much, but also you feel so much better, because when you don't have a system in place, what tends to happen is that you have your to-do list for the day, and what are the things that you're going to write over and over again that you didn't get to do that day, you didn't get to do the other day, you didn't get to do for weeks, right? Your frogs. Most of the time they're your frogs. They're important. Maybe I don't want to do them. Maybe looking at my accounts, things like that. They feel that they're not going to be pleasant. I'm not going to like them. I'm not going to enjoy them. maybe they trigger a little bit of something in me, or maybe they feel that they're too big, like writing a book, like how do I start? There's so much to do, etc., etc. Eat the frog. Eat the frog. What is it? Is it writing the first paragraph of the first chapter? Okay, we'll do that. It's bite size. It's a baby step. We'll do that. Done. Oh, ate my frog. Can move on. Yeah. Is it working on my accounts? Okay, I only have half an hour. Yeah, I'll do that. Half an hour. Oh, made some progress. Feels wonderful. So I found that that's really, really, really helpful. It's identifying that that's not going to be the best moment of your day, but also knowing that if you do that first thing, or whenever you have the time, because you might have some appointments when you start your day, first thing when you have the time, don't postpone it. By the end of the day, when we feel like we've been firefighting everything that we needed to do, firefighting for the day, it's 5 or it's 6 or it's 8, it's too late. We don't have the energy and the mental capacity to look at the frogs, and we've just said, sorry, froggy, you're going to go back to tomorrow's to-do list, don't you? And the risk is that it'll never get done. Yeah, and you lose the momentum. And also, particularly for accounts, for example, it's really interesting to see. The more you procrastinate, the more you leave it for the next day, the bigger it becomes for you emotionally. The harder it gets, the more sticky, the more you don't want to do it, the more it feels like you're never going to get it, or you're not going to enjoy, etc. So it actually makes it worse by sort of rehearsing that again and again and again, rather than going for it, getting it done, out of the way. Clean, and you have the space. We can focus on what you want to do. You can focus on your free time. You can focus on other tasks, okay? Wonderful. So we've covered a lot here. I hope that everything was useful. So just as a little bit of a recap, how can we prioritize and be more efficient? It's a unique approach. Everybody is different. We need a good system. We need to look at the macro. We need to look at the big picture, and we need to look at details, micro level. For me, it's always about quality over quantity. Remember that it's a marathon, not a sprint. So don't burn yourself out by trying to do all of it in a week or things like that. Really go long-term, low pace. Take care of yourself. And I want to finish with this. What I thought would make me more productive, hard work, what actually does. Remember your overall balance. Remember your exercise, your healthy eating, your sleep, your time off, your breathing space, your journaling, your meditation. All of these aspects are super, super, super important for you to be very productive, very efficient when you're going to be actually doing some work. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you if you're watching this recording. I'm Coach Clem. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook. Here's my email. You see also my website, coachclem.com. You can contact me if you would like to book a free discovery session, if you're interested in knowing more, and if I would be really, really happy to have a conversation with you. Thanks for attending today, and really please give us more of your tips. Maybe you'll have more tips to share with us, and comments and reactions and questions are very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Clemence. Just looking at our chat, if we have any questions, we had one, but Joe answered it for you. So that was about the name of the app, and the name of the app is Microsoft To Do, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Lovely. Would anyone like to ask a question before we leave? Don't be shy.
Questions or reactions? Any adds on? Thanks, Marianne.
Could I ask a question?
Please.
Thank you so much. I unfortunately only picked up halfway through the session already, so I don't know what you said the first 20 minutes. But one thing that I find that overwhelms me and it really takes over most of my time is emailing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I was actually looking at it recently to see if I could create some kind of a running task list based on the emails that I receive, because I don't deal with them immediately.
Yeah.
But then it's like you say, if you don't eat the frog right there, it piles up because the next 100 emails come in.
Okay.
I haven't mastered that transition
Okay.
between getting the load and resolving it and be done with it.
Okay. So first, I would say the capturing is going to really help. So when an email comes in, you identify what it is, who needs to reply. So the capturing would be reply to so-and-so. Yeah. And then you can reflect on that and look at your to-do list, and you've got that. Reply to so-and-so, and you can start clarifying, what does that mean? Oh, I need to find out what proposal I send to them. Or I need to have a conversation with so-and-so first, because that my answer is going to depend on this, on that, and the other, right? Okay. Identifying and then set a date. It's a potential client, so I really want to try to reply, but in the next 2 days. That would be really good. Okay, right. So I've got my scheduling, I've got my timeline. Yeah. So you don't feel that you've got to answer straight away because maybe you're focusing on something, but you don't feel like you're going to forget either. And you don't feel like you need to go back to your emails and look at the long list and go like, oh, what was that one? All right, I didn't reply to this and there's that. And that's really, really overwhelming. Okay. And you've identified, that's really, really helpful. Second thing that I would say, again, with the idea of having a system, is to have some templates. So if you know if some typical emails come in and you have a typical answer to a proposal, to dealing with this, dealing with that, have some templates that are ready. Of course, you're always going to tell them, you're always going to change this and make sure they're not always the same thing, but that saves you so much time typing. So don't we spend forever responding to these emails? We do, don't we? Yeah. So that's going to really help you as well, having a process, identifying the steps. Also, something that I found really, really good is for some conversations, if possible, it might not be the case because sometimes we want to stay formal and want to stay in writing, but others, it might not be the case. And we could send a quick LinkedIn vocal message or a quick WhatsApp vocal message. It takes 3 times less time to answer this way. Oh, do you know, I saw your email. That was really nice. Thank you so much for thinking of us. When it's something a little bit casual, a little bit informal, and people like hearing your voice and they reply with a voice note, done.
Okay. Thank you.
So some ideas, like, again, you will see what applies to your situation. But I found that having these different options and over time fine-tuning your system makes a world of difference.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so much.
Good.
Thank you, Beatrice. Really good question and really good answer.
Thanks. Wonderful.
Anything else from anyone? Any last thoughts?
So Rosalind was asking about the slides. So you'll have everything in the recording. I guess that would be the easiest way to access. I can also send a link. Is that helpful? With access to Prezi. So I use Prezi Video. I can provide a link. It's a bit like Canva that takes you to the okay, we'll do that. No problem.
That's possible. Great.
In the description alongside the recording.
Sorry, I just have one more question. Because I carry many hats. I carry a hat of a researcher, of a lecturer, of a project manager. So it's lots of different areas.
Yes.
And one area that I also find I get lost in the mountain of information. Yeah. It's like, for example, I get a request that's connected with research, and immediately I go into research, get what I need, and then I answer. So that research piece needs to be quickly somewhere where I can find it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But often what I'll find is that I will download the file and put in another file in a folder somewhere. Yeah. And next time I think about it, I think, okay, I remember I did this and I remember I did that. But there is this disconnect between the topic in question, the research I used to respond. Yeah. And so there comes the anxiety and the stress and the
okay. Yeah. Very, very important as well in the GTD process, the filing. Filing is really, really crucial. Okay. In some instances, it might be worth saving several copies if you have different aspects in, let's say this piece of research could apply to education as well as science, as well as, again, I'm talking like broad, so that you may be able to find it, whether your question comes from this angle or this angle.
Yeah, good.
Super, 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 super important when it comes to filing is naming your files. Naming the files, renaming the files. Whenever you download something, rename it for you as much keywords as possible. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can keep the original name of the file and add on more. Okay. So for me, this is the sort of the keywords that are going to come to mind if I'm looking for this piece of research. Yeah. So then you can look with the search, what do you call it, with your finder, or the search bar. Yes, the search bar. Type in your keywords is going to bring that up. If you can't find it, or if you want to be the quickest, that's what I use personally, is that I've taken some time to rename all my files. Yeah. So my quickest way of going for it, or looking at maybe several documents that could be relevant, or several pictures or things like that, is keyword typing. Lifesaver.
Do you have a specific app for the GTD?
So the Microsoft To Do is really when it goes to organizing all my tasks on my to-do list.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Microsoft.
Microsoft To Do. You'll catch that up on the recording.
Oh, sorry. Maybe that's what it is. I'm missing the links here. Yeah.
Don't worry. You'll have the recording, and you can look at that. And but there's also like really nice little YouTube tutorials that can. But it's amazing. It's amazing. Microsoft To Do. You have it on your phone. You have it on your laptop. There's others that I don't necessarily use personally, Trello and things like other project management tools. But with GTD, Microsoft To Do works great. There can be other apps and other, but that's an easy. There's everything there that you could possibly need that I recommend, and free, of course.
Thank you.
Okay, great questions. Wonderful.